Hi everyone, welcome to the VIRTI Virtual Human Simulation tutorial. You may begin to notice your lecturers assigning you these virtual human simulations to deal with different character profiles in specific scenarios. There are a couple of different types of virtual humans, so I will take you through both of them and show you how to play each one. But first, let me take you through how you would access these simulations. So if you head over to your Blackboard course page, you will see it provided as a link. If by any chance it is not shared through Blackboard, it will just be a simple URL for you to load in your internet browser. So don't worry about it, it will load the exact same way. So I'm going to select the VIRTI simulation link here. And you'll see it will start to load in a new tab automatically. You just have to wait for it to load all the assets and download the environment before you can begin to play. So the first thing that pops up is this pop-up here with the title of the simulation, and you'll have a little description. So obviously this is just a simple one that's been created. The instruction could be maybe learning outcomes, learning objectives, or just extra instruction on how you are to deal with this virtual human, and that will be up to the lecturer. So you will see a nice start session button. So all you need to do to begin is click this. Just bear in mind that some of the virtual humans can be timed, so just be wary that you're ready before you click start. So you can see as soon as I press start session, the virtual human simulation will begin. So I've got my first dialogue here, is why have I brought this person here? You can see that there's a pop-up here. If you'd like to use your microphone to speak, you can close that down or click don't show again. In this type of simulation, you won't need to use your microphone because you can see right under the virtual human dialogue, there is an option for me to click here. So this type of VIRTI simulation, you won't need to create any dialogue yourself. You would just be selecting which answer you think is correct. In this example, I've only got one option here. So this is the one that I'm going to click on. And the virtual human will give their response according to what I click on, and then it will come up with the new options for my next response. If you want to see a full log of the chat, on the top right, there is this sidebar. You can click on that and that will load up your full conversation. So you can always click on that and review your conversation. If there's anything you want to look back on, any information that you want to check before you make your decision on what answers to give. And then you can collapse that again if you want. You can also make it full screen. Depending on your browser, you can then either press the X at the top. So I'm using Microsoft Edge, so the X appears here. You can also press escape or just press this button again in the top right corner to minimize it again. You can click on the top left for more info if you get stuck. Again, this isn't going to be that helpful in this example, but if your lecturer has provided you with more instruction, you can always click there and review it as well, and then close that pop-up again when you're done. In most scenarios, the simulation will be marked as complete when you complete the full conversation. However, if you do want to jump out of the simulation early, you can click end conversation, and this will give you a summary. So you'll get a pop-up here, which is, do you want to end the conversation? If you cancel, it will just bring you back to the simulation. You can continue. Otherwise, if you click proceed, it will end conversation and give you a summary, including how long you've spent in the simulation. So I will play through this simulation till the end, and I'll show you what it looks like when the conversation has officially ended and the simulation will end as a result. So there will be examples where you get feedback based on your answers that you give. Now, this again depends on whether the lecturer has set this up. You may not always get feedback, but this is an example. This is how it will show up. It'll show up in green with a little clipboard. It will tell you the information you need to know, and then there will be a continue button. Once you click that continue button, the virtual human simulation will then continue, and then you can go on to select your next set of answers. Again, there's a bit of feedback. So this is what it looks like when the simulation automatically ends, when you've completed the conversation. It will give you a session summary and the time that you've spent. Now, in this example, there aren't any objectives that have been set up, but I will show you in the next example what these objectives look like, and it will give you a summary of whether you met them or not. So you may come across a unique way to access the VIRTI virtual human simulations, and that will be through the tool called ThingLink. So if you haven't seen ThingLink before, it will be either an image like this with a bunch of icons. So this is an icon here. There's only one on this screen, but you'll have various icons on the page. It could be icons in a video, a still image, or a 360 image. So in this example, I've just got a still image with an icon here. I've got some instructions here. And all I need to do is click on the icon, and the VIRTI virtual human simulation will load right within the pop-up as normal. You just have to make sure you do not press this close button until you are done with the VIRTI simulation within the pop-up. It will load the exact same way. You'll get this simulation title and the description and the start session button. Okay, so you can see that the layout looks exactly the same. This is the first type of virtual human simulation that I showed you earlier on. So I've got my options to select here. If you do feel awkward playing in this small pop-up, you can still select full screen mode, which again is on the top right. So once you press that, it will blow up to the full screen, and then you can play the virtual human exactly how you would, giving all of your answers. Again, you can expand the chat so you can see the full log of the conversation. And when you're done, it will either automatically finish once you've completed all of the conversation. If for whatever reason you want to end the conversation early, you can do that. But I do recommend that you play the simulation right till the end. Then once you're done, all you need to do is then minimize that again, and then you can press that close button. So you will get a summary which will let you know that you've done everything you needed in this virtual human. So you just need to press close. And then you, depending on the type of ThingLink that you've got, this one is a simulation within ThingLink. So you will have a proceed button on the top right. So once you've done everything in there, you click proceed, and then you can move on to the next bit, in which case this is just a bit of feedback, which you can then proceed throughout the rest of the scenario. If it is just a standard ThingLink, then once you've clicked and completed the virtual human, you can then close the full thing down and you're good to go. Okay, so the first example I just showed you was the first type of virtual human where the options are provided for you. So all you need to do is just select through which answers you think is best based on the details of the scenario and the virtual human dialogue. The next type is a little bit more free form. So this is where you will be putting in your own input. You will be asking the questions. You have a bit more freedom with how you deal with the virtual human, what you say, what type of answers you give. So let's load this next one. Again, it's exactly the same with just a simple URL link. It will load the same way in your browser. So all you need to do is just wait again for this to load before you can start. So you get the same pop-up here with the simulation title and description. So this again could be any sort of instruction. And then your start session button. So what you can see here is, again, I'm just going to close this microphone pop-up, but then this is just a reminder that you can actually do voice to text in this simulation as well. So if you have a device or a separate microphone, you can use that to make it easier. So what you'd notice here is that you've got actually a bar here where you can actually type in your questions or your dialogue, anything you want to say. So the layout is pretty much the same. So again, I've got top left, I've got more information, which just brings that pop up again, and I can close that back. I can end the conversation early. This time, you have objectives linked to this simulation. Now, this position of the icon will be exactly the same in the other type of virtual human if objectives are assigned. So do look out for this in your virtual human, because it will be an extra guide for you to know what the lecturers are looking for, what you are being tested on, what you need to achieve in this simulation. So if you select that, it will hide your objectives, and if you select it again, it will bring your objectives back out, which shows on the top left. To see your objectives, you just need to click on that drop down. Now again, this is hidden, so it will only appear and mark as complete once you've actually met that objective. Now, the way this is set up again depends on your lecturer. If you are being tested a little bit more, your objectives may be hidden. If you can see the objectives, it means it's an easy mode, so you will be able to see all the objectives that you need to meet. So definitely look out for that as well. But just know you have the title of the initial objective there as well. And if there's a light bulb there, you have a hint that you can use. But beware, if you use it, you don't get the points for the objective. So just be careful with that. So this is a customer service. I have an angry customer saying, I have an issue you're going to help me with. Again, I've got feedback here as well. It could be additional instruction as well, depending on how your lecturer has used this. So you can start typing in this box or use your microphone to say what you want, and then you just need to send. So I'm going to say, how can I help you today? Once you've typed that in, you can see that this button now becomes active. So then I can just send that through. So my virtual human has given the response. I can then type my answer. So I can say, I'm sorry to hear about this. And then hit that send button. So we have a very unhappy customer here. Again, this is how it's set up. So this is for you to develop the skills on how to best deal with difficult situations like this. But this is overall the second type of virtual human that you will get. And this is where you can type in or speak your responses to the virtual human. And again, you'll have objectives that you can use as a guide. And once your objectives are met, the simulation will automatically end. Again, you've got the end conversation button if you do want to end your conversation early. So this is the third type of virtual human that you will be assigned. It again loads the exact same way. It will still appear like this initially with your pop-up, title of the simulation, description, and a start session button. So again, it starts the same way with the virtual human starting its dialogue. It may be set up in a way that you need to initiate conversation. So if your virtual human doesn't speak, it's fine. Try typing in a dialogue and then you should get a virtual human response. So this is similar to the second example I showed you in terms of layout. Again, how you interact with the virtual human is by typing in your own input or speaking using your microphone. You've got the more info button here, which again still opens up the information of the simulation. You've got your objectives here. In this example, again, they're still hidden. You've got your chat dialogue here, which actually in this type of simulation appears automatically. And there's a reason for this. It's because you've got these extra tabs over here. So this simulation is a medical virtual human. So you can assign this patient vitals, these different examples. You can perform actions as well. So if you're doing a checkup, for example, and there's different actions that you need to perform, you can go into this tab. They will be presented here. And again, this will be set up by the lecturer. So it will be everything that you either need to do. There may be some that you don't need to do, and instead it does take off points. So you do have to apply your knowledge here and decide if you think this is what you should be doing in this scenario. And you have a results tab, and that will just be whatever the results are for each action performed. And I'll show you what this looks like once we play a bit of this simulation. So the intention behind this type of virtual human is that you speak to the virtual human character, find out as much information as you can about the symptoms they're experiencing, and then you have a diagnose button at the top that you'll click on once you think you know what the patient has. You will type in your diagnosis, and then you will get feedback on whether you're correct, incorrect, what objectives you met, how many points you scored, and how long you took in the simulation. So that I will show you at the end once we're done. So this is a slightly gamified version. It's one that I created for an away day. But it still follows the same principle of finding out what the symptoms are and diagnosing a patient. So the question is, are you ready? I'm going to say, yes, I am ready. Again, you just type in the bar. You can speak it if you want using your microphone. Currently it's muted. You just need to unmute, speak. The text will appear in this bar here, and then you just hit send. Okay, so I've got my virtual human response. This one's a little longer. So if you do have that, you can scroll through. Again, you've got the chat dialogue as well to make it a lot easier for you to see all of that. So it tells me I need to look at my objectives. So my first one is asks how Sally is. So hi Sally, how are you? So you can see here that I've got feedback as well. I've got my virtual human response. I need to check Sally's temperature. So I'm going to head over to the actions tab. There's the action here, check temperature. All I need to do is click perform. And then you can see that I've checked the temperature and her temperature is 39. So very high temperature. So you can see that here I've met an objective. So once the objective is met, it is revealed here. You can see by this tick where it says recommended. And that first thing was indeed to check Sally's temperature. Again, feedback also shows up in this chat box here, right under the dialogue. So you see it here as well, and in the chat dialogue. So I'm going to tell Sally that her temperature is high. So again, I need to perform another action. Just bear in mind that this is a very guided example. So you will need to apply your knowledge based on what you have learned in your lectures. And I'm sure you're more than capable of doing that. So I need to inspect Sally's nose. So you can get feedback like this, which will be images. It can also be a video, or it could also be audio. So depending on the type of feedback that's set up or that's required. So even if it was getting an X-ray, you might get images of an X-ray, and you will look there for signs of any symptoms or any issues there. So here it says nothing major apart from a bit of congestion. Okay. Now I'm going to inspect the mouth. Again, it zooms in for you. So nothing unusual there either. So there's one in the results. There we go. That took a little bit of time to load, but throat looks clear, no visible signs of swelling. So just be prepared for graphic images, just in case, especially if you have more of a health-based course. And these are the sorts of things that you're checking. It's not necessary that you will get these images in the results, but just be prepared for that. Okay? So I'll tell Sally, your nose and throat look clear. Okay, so playing through this, just a temperature, runny nose, sore throat, but nothing really concerning when I inspect the nose and mouth. So I'm going to say that Sally has a common cold. So I'm going to proceed to diagnosis. It will ask me here, what is your diagnosis? And I'm going to say a cold. And then you send that through. And then you will get a session summary. Now, this will tell you if you get it correct, it'll have this tick and it will say diagnosed. If it's incorrect, it'll be a red cross and it'll say an incorrect diagnosis. It will tell you how many points you've got, what's your overall percentage. And then you've got asked Sally how she is. It will give you a breakdown of all the different objectives that you needed to meet, whether you met them as well. So there's one here that I didn't meet, for example, and I can see that as feedback. And once I'm done, the simulation is over. In this one, you can just then close the simulation and you're done.